We're facing an inflection point in history. One of those moments where the decisions we make today are going to determine the future for decades to come.
If funding stopped and the US stopped supporting Ukraine, I think it would have a massively negative effect. But it would also mean that all of the money that the US has invested to date has been wasted.
Imagine if you are sitting at your place and you see this gentleman, well-dressed, walking in your yard, telling you that, "Sir, I want to make a deal with you." Out of curiosity, you ask this gentleman, "What kind of deal do you want to make with me?" And this gentleman replying back to you saying that, "No, sir, don't worry. I have the kind of deal that I want to make to you. This deal will change your life. But I just want you to pay more close attention to what I'm about to tell you." Then you say, "Okay, fine, I'm all listening." And this gentleman is like, "Okay, fine. I want to attack your neighbor, but I don't know how I can attack your neighbor. So I want you to allow me to come and buzz and accommodated by you in your house in order for me to attack this your neighbor." Now you ask, "Okay, what do you want for my neighbor? Because my neighbor is very dangerous, man. What are you talking? Why do you want to do this?" And this gentleman is like, "No, don't worry, because there is something I want from your neighbor." And you're like, "No, say, I'm not going to allow you. I need to know exactly what is it that you want to get for my neighbor." And this gentleman said to you that, "No, look, your neighbor have a diamond mining located in his yard. So we want to attack him so that we can take that mining. And once we take all those mining, we'll make sure that we'll solve your problems. We'll build you a nice house. This place will break everything down and will change your life for good." Fine. Then you accept the deal, right? And the next things, your neighbor find out that you are up to something. You are about to bring people whom he considers his enemy, people who've been threatening his security, people he knows that if they are there in your yard, they'll attack him by any moment in order for them to have what he have. Your neighbor jump in straight away. He says that, "Okay, fine. Since these people, they want to come and attack me in order for them to have what I have, which is the diamond, according to what they said to you. Fine. Let's first dig in your yard and see if you also have diamond. Because if you are neighbors, whatsoever I have on my side, there is possibility that you might have it as well. You might not have it at 100%, but you will still have even 20% of whatsoever I have in my yard. So let's dig here first. Let's see if this diamond does really exist." And the next things, you find yourself that you are in trouble. You guys, you are fighting about it already. And the next things, you dig, and this your stranger person, gentleman that had walked in promising you heaven and earth, promising you of a deal which will change your life, they were there supporting you, in order for you to dig down and see how much of percent of gold or diamond that you are having in your yard. They dig. At a certain level, after they had damaged, break your house down, damage your whole yard with walls, and they end up abandoning you. When they abandon you, your neighbor now is like, "Okay, fine. You can see that you people who came here promising you heaven and earth, they had abandoned you. So me, I'm not going to abandon you right now. I have to go until to the end of this." Now you on the other side, you start now crying for help from this gentleman, saying that, "No, sir, please come here. Help me. You promised me that, after all this, you will build a nice house for me. You promised me that you will change my life. But we have not even reached to the end of our mission. We have not even reached to the end of our deal. You are already start abandoning me. Please help me. You can't let my neighbor continue digging holes all over my yard without you helping me. Please, you promised me that you're going to help me until the end." And the next things, this strange gentleman, they don't even want to look at you. Because they are no longer seeing you in the same way like they used to see you before. How will you feel about that? What kind of impression or hatred will you have against this kind of gentleman? Of course, You'll feel bad and disappointed. You will think of doing the worst in order for you to revenge yourself, isn't it? Now, I believe you're asking yourself a question, who am I talking about here? I am talking about Zelensky with Ukrainian people who now feel disappointed and abandoned by the US. The US with NATO nations that they had come in to propose a deal that will change the Ukrainian people's life forever. They came in seducing the Ukraine government, telling them that no, if you guys join the NATO nations, you'll be protected from Russia. Russia will never gonna play with you anymore because you'll be part of the NATO nations. And the Ukraine government accepted that. They wanted to play along with them so that they will see how things will go. They believe that if they have to come and join these NATO countries, at least things will be better for them, because for them they believe that Russia was gonna always come and destroy them. But even though it was not the intention of Russia, because Russia on their side, when you listen with Vladimir Putin, they were very clear from the beginning. They had said it that they don't have problem with Ukraine. The problem is when Ukraine or any other Russian neighboring country trying to join NATO nations, because Russia considered themselves as the powerful nation in the Middle East, and therefore they want to have that leadership. And on the other side, we are having United States of America with NATO nations who want to come and bring instability in Russia, who want to come and fight Russia from inside. And that was something that Russia did not want it to take place at all. Russia wanted to make sure that the USA with their alliance, they should be far away from heat affairs. But after all these times that the USA came and tell Ukraine a lot of things, and the Ukraine accepted whatsoever they had proposed to them, what happened after 2 years? How far are we now? Will Ukraine ever win this war against Russia? Because as we're talking right now, this so-called gentleman who had come and proposed to Ukraine heaven and earth, telling them that they will change their life for good, they are actually abandoning Ukraine in a serious war that Ukraine is not going to be able to defend themselves against Russia. We all know how powerful Russia it is. So Zelensky have found himself out of everything. Zelensky have just realized that the NATO nations, they are playing him. And all these games started when the US former President Donald Trump made this kind of revelations by telling Americans that Biden is busy spending billions of money to Ukraine, which is not even our neighboring country. Ukraine, a country which is not even in our region, but NATO nations, which are neighboring to this country, who are close to this country, they are not contributing that much. Donald Trump was very clear. He told Americans that Biden already spent more than 170 billion US dollar. That is excluding the money that Biden with his house they are about to spend again. Imagine 170 billion US dollar. But yet they could not even defeat Russia. Just imagine that. The money is gone. All the NATO nations in total, how much of money they have contributed to this war in Ukraine? Not even 30 billion US dollar. They are under 30 billion, if I'm not mistaken, 27 billion US dollar. That is the money that these people, they manage to contribute with. So Donald Trump had to question the Biden administration, asking himself questions to know how possible is it that Biden is spending this kind of money in Ukraine, and all these neighboring countries which are close to Ukraine, they are not spending their monies. What does the USA have to benefit from all this? Because they're all supposed to be NATO nations. But how come it's only the USA who have to spend that much of money and not these other nations? These questions had put a lot of conflict among Americans. So Biden is a candidate to the next elections in 2024 in America. He needs to look out for that. He needs to consider all these allegations against him. Otherwise, he will be kicked out of the office as much Donald Trump was kicked also out by himself, Biden. So what you have to do? is now shifting away from Ukraine. Do you know why? Because Biden ended up realizing that Ukraine, it is different from African countries. You know, when you come in Africa countries, if you get one of African country, you interact in their politics or their affairs, you start doing whatsoever they usually do in Africa, they'll always have something to benefit from Africa, which is the African mineral. Because all of these countries that we're having in Africa, we all have minerals in one way or another way. We might be different, some they might have gold, some having diamond, but we have some countries which have petrol, some they have uranium, some they have copper, you can tell that Africa, we're just so blessed in everything. So when these people come in Africa, they have to benefit from one of these minerals. So whatsoever they'll be doing, they'll be benefiting in another way. But unfortunately, that's not the case with Ukraine. Ukraine, they don't have petrol. Ukraine, they don't have any kind of mineral that Africa have. Ukraine, they don't have gold, they don't have diamond, they don't have all these things that I just mentioned not long ago. So now America, when they walk in, they went in with one mission: to stop Russia, according to them, to stop Russia from not invading Ukraine, but to bring Ukraine in the NATO nations. So that once Ukraine's NATO nations, they'll come and place their military base over there in order for them to start watching Russia even more close. And who came up with all these plans? That was the US of America. Like always, they do things that they don't want other people to do to them. So they came in hoping that this was going to be an easy mission, hoping that this was going to be a small problem that they'll solve just in a short period of time, forgetting that they were dealing with one of the most powerful nations in the world, which is Russia, with Vladimir Putin as their president. They went in, they seduced Zelensky, they used this man as their puppet. But at the end, they leave him, they let him go. The man is now alone on his own. He does not receive the same support that he used to receive before when all this started. All the promises that they've been telling him. So they use his country as a place of war. They engage themselves in a serious war. They fight with him. They destroy everything, even the economy of Ukraine. And at the end of the day, they're just leaving it like that, without rebuilding Ukraine, without doing anything. That is the kind of friends that this world has been running away from. A kind of friends that comes in, they destroy whatsoever you have, and the moment they leave you like that. They're never going to help you to rebuild what they had destroyed. So Zelensky, he found himself on his own without having support from these people. And do you know what hate him the most? It's for the fact that things that they don't want Russia to do in Ukraine, these are the things that they are going to do it to other nations. As you know already that they have jumped from Ukraine to Israel, where Israel is engaged in an open war with the Palestinians. So things that they've been asking Putin not to do in Ukraine, these are the things that they are doing right now as we're talking in Palestine. So Zelensky ended up understanding that, okay, I'm not just dealing with any kind of people. These people, they are here like to destroy me. These people, they are here to abandon me. And now I'm in trouble. Because obviously, the moment US is giving up on Ukraine, Russia is holding up even more tight. Because there is no way that Russia will go back, so that when the US heard that Russia is going back, they'll come back again in Ukraine. I don't see that happening with Vladimir Putin. Instead, the man will even try to make his leadership be known now in a very strong way, more than ever. So personally, I wonder, now that we have reached to this point, what will happen to people of Ukraine? Who's going to rebuild the Ukraine? Who's going to make the economy of Ukraine being raised up again? Those are the things, because obviously these other NATO nations, they're so, they don't want to share. They are so kind of like they're in, but like they're not in. It's like they have understood already that, no, look, we don't want to become a puppet government for US, because we can see that these people, whenever they do, or whenever they want to attack a nation, they just want to have our support. So if they want to do that on our side, all we have to do is just to keep quiet and observe them and see what they are up to. Maybe that's what is making them to distance themselves from Ukraine and not getting meddling this affair that deeply. They contribute with what they have, but most of the things, they are more focused on their economy. Because maybe they have understood also that if we keep on following the strategy that this US, they are busy bringing us in, it will destroy us. So these people, they are not small kids. They also understand the kind of game that is going on. But what about the people of Ukraine, whom they have used all this time? Many innocent people were killed there. All this because the US refused the peace negotiation that many countries around the world had provided or suggested between Russia and the Ukraine. For them, they feel like, no, if we leave or if we let go of this operation right now, then Russia will become stronger more than ever. But that's not what the world needs. The world actually needs the kind of people who are there for peace and not for trouble, not for you coming around causing a lot of conflict among nations. The world does not need that, guys. So we know already that this is America for you. This is what they've been doing all over around the world. They go knocking to the doors of each and every country, knocking on their doors, asking them, open, whether you like it or not. So it is either you open for them to come in, or either you become their enemies. Look around the world. I'm not making up this. Look around the world, you will see. Each and every country that refused to cooperate with America, every country that refused to obey to what the US have to say on them, these countries were considered as their enemies. We have countries such as Cuba, we have Iran. There are so many of them. Some of them even their names won't come in my mind, but there are so many countries which just distance themselves. That, no, look, we don't want. And you see they will cut their friendship. They'll come and use their weapons, the bullying weapons, which is the sanctions. They'll put a lot of sanctions on them because they can tell that this one they don't want to cooperate with us. This one they don't want us to come in their countries. But look now, those countries that they had opened their door to let the US in. What is their outcome? If it is not suffering, if it is not their economy being destroyed, because whatsoever the US touch, it does not remain the same anymore. And once they leave, they're never even gonna have pity for you to say that, no, look, we were there in your country, we use you. Now it is about time we at least try to do things in a good way by making sure that we help you to rebuild your country. They don't do all those kind of things. They don't do that. They move. They'll leave you in that conditions. They'll move to the next nations. And you just saw it for yourself. How they did in Ukraine. The problem in Ukraine was this small like this. It was not a big deal that was going to make this whole conflict last for this long. It was all about sitting down. Each and every country try to respect themselves and respect other nations' sovereignty. What is the problem? Putin consider NATO nations as a threat to its security. What needs to be avoided? Okay, fine. NATO nations, can you stay on your corner? As much you don't want China to come in your territories. You guys, you saw how Americans, they were so nervous and angry against China because all China did was to have a military cooperation with Cuba. They get scared, but them, they feel it more relaxed for them to go and do military cooperation with Taiwan. When they are doing this military cooperation with Taiwan, they find it more normal, forgetting that Taiwan, it is a country which is being considered by China as a Chinese territories. Now, when they do all those things, it is fine. So whatever they do, according to them, it is fine. And they call that democracy. The kind of democracy that whatsoever you do, everyone, they have to say amen. But what other people do suggest, or what other people that are trying to ask of you, you don't want to consider that. That is the kind of people we are having. So we shall wait and see what will happen, and for how long will Ukraine survive this fighting against them with Russia. Now that the US, they have distanced themselves. Are they going to give up and forget about joining NATO nations? Or are they going to try to keep on crying like babies and destroying and killing innocent people over there? We shall wait and see. Guys, thank you so much. We really do appreciate your presence. But before you leave, make sure that you give us your thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you have not done so. We'll really do appreciate that. That will be all for tonight. Of course, for now, continue to be yourself. Be good, be kind. Have respect for everyone in order for you to be respected. May God bless you all. I'll see you again very soon in our next video. Ciao, ciao.